Welcome back to another edition of the Wonderberry Podcast.
I'm Brian,
I'm Dave.
and you can find us online at wonderberry.com.
You can find me online at Open Darkwing pretty much everywhere.
And you can find me almost exclusively at briankeesbury.com,
Nice.
where I have content coming out.
I've noticed that I've been getting some notifications of content coming. I don't look at it, but I'm just kidding.
I'm not flooding the notifications or nothing.
No. It's a set up as an alert from Discord on my phone. So every once in a while I'll get a notification.
That's the only thing I figured out how to actually make work right is so that the alert to Discord. I was trying to set up like an email or text notification, and there was paywalls, and I was like,
those are also annoying.
damn it. I don't want to pay to like notify people.
No.
I'll figure that out someday.
No, what you could do though is you could set up on your YouTube channel and you can start begging to be part of the notification gang or something.
Like and subscribe and hit that bell.
Smack that notification bell.
Be the first to watch. No, I'm not doing that. That was the whole point of me moving everything away from all the other socials, was doing it. I wanted to build my own system.
I know. And I'm still torn about, like, I like conceptually, I like that idea, like breaking away, building all your own stuff. And then I realized that if my goal is to reach people, I need to go where people are.
Yeah.
That's something that I've kind of struggled with off and on. Like, especially with Facebook, for example.
Ugh.
I loathe Facebook. However, Facebook pages, and especially from a businessy standpoint, Facebook is fairly important because, well, that's what happens.
It's where the people are still.
And
even though the trends are all down and the demographics are all in the dying range,
it's still where the people are. You know, I wanted to. There are certain things that I will do on my own, you know, having a portfolio website, being more professional that way. But, you know, I was thinking about, you know, dropping off from Instagram to go completely federated. And I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's not, while Federated is awesome and I still like the concept, it's not where people are.
Yeah.
The reach is just not there. And if I'm trying to reach people, you have to go where they're at.
Hold on. You're missing the key part of that sentence is the comma and the word yet.
Well, that's fine. But how long has the Federated system been around? When did ActivityPub show up?
10 years ago. 10 years ago, I think was the estimated first like build.
Okay. So how long has Instagram been around?
Oh shit, I don't know.
I'll look this up real quick.
That's what I was doing.
2012. So 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I rest my case.
How long was Facebook around?
Oh, Facebook has been around. I was in the Navy when it was an EDU only.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like 2004.
Because it was EDU only for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And for those that don't know what that means you had to have a .edu email address. Yep.
Yeah. It had to be in like in college, have a college email address.
The wife had one when it was back then. She was a really early adopter. But yeah, I mean, I have the same problems with Linux desktop that I do with Federated Media. It's a great idea. It works, but because it's fragmented, it's not going to gain the same traction, I don't think. I think the fragmentation and the barrier of knowledge to entry is going to keep it down.
I don't. I think it's going to be different because we see things like WordPress and threads going federated. We see things like Blue Sky, even though they're on a different protocol, pushing
Yeah, but
federation.
look at what if anything was going to cause federated stuff to take off, it would have been threads, and that hasn't been adopted as well. I still think that they had a huge explosion because they just tied it in with your Instagram profile. But what
Yeah.
has the retention level been? The retention level just completely plummeted.
Yeah, but they haven't even turned on the marketing machine yet, Dave.
I don't know if are they
They
going to?
they said they would once they had all the features in place.
Yep, and they said that would happen within 4 weeks.
No, they said it would be a while. That's all they said. They didn't give timelines. They just said we're working
Didn't
on
they?
it.
I thought there was an article I was reading where they were talking about how it was going to be, that what their timeline attempt was going to be.
No. I was watching
I don't
like
know.
the actual developers on Threads, and they were like, here's what we're working on immediately. This is going to be the first thing. This will be.
I think that
And they said hashtags and trending topics are going to be coming very soon.
I think that they screwed up.
Well, I think they
they turned it
jumped the
on
gun.
to way they should have gotten they should have gotten every matched feature fleshed out and then turned it on.
Yeah.
Because if you release something that is featureless compared to something else, you're not going to be that you're trying to compete with, you're not going to do it. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
No one's going to take 2 steps backwards in the hopes that they can eventually take 3 steps forward.
But I almost bet you once hashtags and trending topics is launched.
I don't know why that wasn't launched within a month of threads coming out.
It's probably more complicated than we think it is, but
if it's
I don't
already
know.
I mean, aren't topics and hashtags already working with every other federated social media site?
Yeah.
That's all open sourced?
I don't know. They're building something new and different, Dave.
I
I
know.
don't understand it.
I'm just saying, I don't think that they are as serious as we hope they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be more than happy to go federated once it becomes the main. I'll be more than happy to do it. I still contend that the barrier to entry is too high for normal people that don't give a shit. There is a reason why you can customize your email as much as you want, and people still use things like Gmail and Hotmail and Outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want the decentralized system. They want the system that is the easiest.
That is
fastest.
A decentralized system. You can go to Gmail or Hotmail.
Yes, I understand that, but they don't. The barrier to entry on that, the only reason why they are using it is because of how easy it is that way. Unless you make it super easy, it's going to get, and you don't make it confusing. It's the steps. People are dumb.
Yep. That's why
we are tech
threads...
people, so we find it fairly simple. However, even with all that, even saying all of that, I've gotten frustrated, even as a longtime tech person, of trying to figure out how to federate everything that I want into a common address. And that should be elementary.
Yeah. That's why I just pulled it all back and dropped it all on my website. And then I'm just going to sit and wait. Because
But even
I know there's bits and pieces that don't work right, but
and that's the frustrating part is like if we're struggling with it, how is someone else going to deal with it?
mm-hmm.
I mean, someone just had a fake check mark and tanked Eli Lilly's stock.
Yeah.
That's the level of competence that we're dealing with when it comes to social media.
Well, that's why I tell people if it's not briankeesbury.com, it's not me, you know?
And the problem is that for that to be the barrier of entry is, I'm not going to say unobtainable because it's obtainable for anyone, is insane for most people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And even with stuff like email, there's a reason why phishing is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yep.
Because even with email, all they do is just change one letter to a letter that looks like, and you've got corporations that fall for it. You've got people that run corporations that fall for it. I mean, phishing is it's stupidly insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I believe in the technology. I don't believe that people. I think that once you have simplified stuff out so far, that making the knowledge for entry higher than what it currently is a failed idea.
I I don't think it will. I think
You have more trust and faith in humanity than I do.
no, I think we'll see some of the bigger companies create easier to use systems. Things like Threads. I keep wondering if Threads is also going to be a test to change Instagram into a federated system.
It would be nice if they did. I'd love
Yeah.
that. I'd absolutely love it. Then I wouldn't have to leave Instagram.
Yeah.
But until the name, it's until the people change, I'm going to stick where people are. Because my goal is to reach people.
Yeah. I'm just doing it the hard way because I'm doing it myself, you know.
Yeah.
It's like me setting up, it's like how we would set up our own email server versus just going to Gmail. Having a Gmail address versus like going and setting up me at briankeesbury.com or, you know, Dave at opendarkwing.com.
It was kind of funny because when I was going through that whole, and I've kind of walked back from switching to a VPS, I found out the pain in the ass it is to run and host your own email server.
Yeah, it is. It's a pain in the ass.
That is a barrier of entry that even I wouldn't go through.
You could just have your own, you just could have an email at Gmail and that's fine. But,
or I just have a shared hosting service and let another company take care of all that for me, which is what I end up doing.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at. I have somebody that handles my WordPress site and
yep.
I just installed it and said, this is what I want it to do. And I know there's a couple things that are broke and not quite working right, but figuring them out.
Yeah. No, it's not terrible.
Yeah. It's getting there. There's a path. I see the path. It's just waiting on everybody else to catch up.
Yeah. And I don't know, and like I said, I don't believe, unless they don't realize they are, I don't believe they will. It's going to require a company doing the path to where no one realizes what the hell's going on.
That's why I'm banking on Threads. I'm like, if Threads can pull it off, everybody else will look at that and be like, well, fuck. Okay, let's do some shit.
I'm not the happiest that it's going to be Meta that's doing it, but
oh no, I hate it.
I don't
like that idea, Dave.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
I was counting on Tumblr and everybody else.
Tumblr's done.
Well,
maybe they'll shut their doors.
Really?
Yep, they are completely offline now. They shut everything down on Omegle. It is no more.
Dang. Wow.
That happened fast too.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. I never used
Yeah,
that.
I I never thought that jumping from webcam to webcam was a fun idea.
Yeah.
But apparently the amount of grooming that was going on was absolutely stupidly insanely high.
Yeah. Seemed like that'd be a good place for that.
Apparently that's what ended up shutting them down.
That figures. Yep. Apparently Tumblr's just on a skeleton crew. They're kind of sounds like they're kind of revamping their plan and
Tumblr died when they decided to disallow NSFW content.
yeah. Well, and it sounds like they have some. It has to be tasteful. They don't know what to do with it right now.
It's the problem is that they knee jerked one way really far, and they don't know how to bring it back.
Well, they got sold back and forth a bunch until WordPress bought them. Automatic.
Yeah. Oh, so WordPress owns Tumblr now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be done then.
Well, they said the
Word,
plan
Word,
was to have the Tumblr core rebuilt with the WordPress core.
Yeah. So what they did was they bought Tumblr to take all of the IP and integrate it into WordPress.
Yeah.
That's what's going to end up happening. Tumblr will be around somewhat as a skeleton way, but for a while at least.
Yeah, they
But
said
eventually
they didn't want to kill it off because it was a beautiful place, but
it'll end up being WordPress.
because the CEO
It'll
said
be
he grew up on Tumblr,
it'll be
which is
WordPress
why he
microblogging.
bought it.
WordPress microblogs will get rebranded. It'll be interesting to see what happens though. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff's changing, but I don't until Threads stop shooting themselves in the foot with delays, it's not I don't think it's going to end up pulling people like they hope it will.
Yeah.
I think they've waited too long. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's difficult, but I still think they waited too long. As unfortunate as that is,
Yep.
I also think the same thing with Blue Sky. I think Blue Sky waited too long. They
Well,
could have done something
they
really special, but
they shouldn't have done the invite thing because it's not 2006 anymore.
I just don't think they didn't have the capital to spend on servers and development. That's why
Yeah.
they did the invite thing, is they don't have the money.
Yeah.
They don't have the money, they don't have the ability.
That's probably why they did it. It was just a dumb idea. That's not the thing anymore. You want to open the floodgates and get everybody in and then deal with the consequences.
Yep.
That's
But
what that's where we're at. It's 2023. You can't we're not in the invite space anymore. It's not.
no. And Dorsey should have been able to at least use his name and his expertise to get some VCs to be able to at least open the doors for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like
That's
he doesn't have a shit ton of money.
that's the problem is that it just I don't know. That
Yeah.
got screwed completely up. He
Yep.
screwed that up. Threads released way too early because they were trying to jump on some sort of a bandwagon, but then you don't try to get people that are jumping off a bandwagon by giving something that you can't do even the most basic additional stuff other than post on. And that's just
They had they had their skeleton ready, and then there was an exodus of Twitter happening, and they said, fuck it, let's launch.
The problem is that they had a skeleton ready, but it needed a lot more calcium
Yep.
to even be a usable skeleton. They shattered their clavicle on release. So I don't know. It's frustrating because I had high hopes for them, and I still have high hopes for them, but I think they shot themselves in the foot way too early.
Yep.
And I don't think it's gonna. I think something has got to. They've got to get their stuff released, all of like full features, and then something else bad has to happen with Twitter or X.
Something else has to happen.
I know, but
what do you mean? Like tomorrow or like yesterday?
It has to be. So people still use it.
Yeah.
So whatever has happened hasn't happened enough with enough time span passed. That's the problem.
It'll get there. Let Zuckerberg get there and turn on the marketing machine.
Unless something happens and they haven't lost. So my problem is that, yes, he hasn't turned the micro machine on, but how much damage has been done with people going, well, it was garbage when I was there 6 months ago. Why would I go back?
Yeah.
People are freaking finicky. So I don't know. I would like to think that people are smarter than that, or that they will jump on board something like that. But until the features match, you're not going to get people to leave. And even then, even if it is a superior product, there's other problems with it. I mean, there's a bunch of people that exited. Well, here's the other problem with the federated side of things, is that there's a real problem that content available on a social media platform, if it's not somewhat regulated, can cause problems for a platform. And I think that's what Facebook is, or not Facebook, but Threads is going to run into. So part of the problem with X is how much absolute batshit crazy stuff is allowed to grow and fester on X, right?
Yeah.
When you completely decentralize how and where information can be spread to individual server owners, it becomes impossible to filter that, like even more impossible than it already is to filter that kind of stuff out. And all it's going to take is some connection to a server that's not in this country, or in a country that is a little bit more dodgy about its rules and regulations, sharing stuff that it's going to ruin one news cycle of that, and it's going to be gone. One news cycle of child exploitation of any sort, and it's done on any federated server. That's going to be the problem, because there is no regulatory system for filtering that out that can be guaranteed.
That's server to server, and we've already seen some of that happen, and it's been pretty quick to like shut it down. The thing is, you can like, when you see that happen, you can compartmentalize that, and you can be like, hey, it's this server right here.
Yes, so you can if you're the admin of that server, you can.
Well, and then you can share that when another server sees that, you can share it with you can share that information. You can be like, hey, our server can see this other server doing this, and
It
then they
the
share it out. Like, hey, this
yeah.
server's doing that.
So I think the issue that I have is I see how much stuff falls through the cracks when there's one regulatory body in charge of trying to keep track of that. Now try 100,000 has to play ball.
Yeah.
100,000 is not going to play ball at any close to the level of efficiency that one will. And it's a fight for one.
Yeah.
And I just, yes, that's going to be a problem. That kind of stuff is a problem with social media companies anyway. I understand that. But regulatory bodies and regulatory commissions, they have one person to go, they have one point person to fight with it. Now you're adding thousands more. And it's going to overrun the bureaucracy, and we're going to end up with I fear that we're going to end up with something that's worse than what we have at X at the moment. Because all it's going to take is large groups deciding not to play ball because they want to be free speech absolutists, and it's done.
Well, we already saw some of that where there was servers that already predetermined that they weren't going to allow content to come in from threads just because it was owned by Meta.
And that's going to be the other part of the problem.
Yeah. And then there was people on those servers that were like, hey, well, that's not right. So they just decided to leave those servers and go to other servers.
It is the problem with the libertarian ideals in practice. I'm not saying all libertarians are absolute nut jobs, but there is a reason why we have a society with rules and one regulatory body. And it's for things like that.
Yeah.
Because when you let the people be completely in charge, then you're going to have 100 people with 100 different ideals of what it should be, and it becomes a circle. It just, I used to say with Linux and with open source software that the best part about it is that it's completely open and you can change it and adapt it, and it's so fragmented that you can build and custom do to be what you need it to be. The worst part about Linux and open source is that it's so fragmented that there is no unifying voice, so it becomes rudderless. There is no
Yeah.
direction. You need a rudder. To move something forward, you need a rudder to keep it in line with something else.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that's why Linux desktop hasn't done nearly as well as, say, servers and embedded. It's because the servers and embedded side is pretty much just the kernel with a couple of extra packaging things. So there is a unified voice. But the moment you get to the desktop side, that unified voice goes away. The Linux kernel has done an amazing job, and there's a reason why. It's because Linus Torvalds was the dictator for so long.
Yeah.
And nothing got approved, nothing got through without him or without it going through a single regulatory body. As much as we want to talk about how great open source software and how great Linux is an example of that, everything went through a single regulatory body. It wasn't nearly as fragmented on the kernel side as people think it is.
Yeah.
That then gets
base
used and
of it is.
adapted. The core base is one.
Yeah.
And then from there, it fragments out, which is why no one has won the open source wars that way. No one's won the Linux war because it's too fragmented for it to actually get much bigger than what it already is. It will always be a hobbyist thing.
Yep.
And yes, there are some countries and there are some companies that are adopted to it, and it's awesome. But I still contend the biggest and closest thing we'll ever have to a Linux desktop that's popular is Chrome OS.
Yeah.
And even that has so many limitations to what people, unless you're just your average, I'm just on the internet, there are
You,
some massive limitations to it.
you have
You've
you
even
have no
you who
idea
have
it's Linux.
even you who has tried harder than any other person I've ever met to completely go 100% with it can't.
Yeah. I get close though. I get real fucking close, Dave.
Oh, I know. And it's very impressive how close you can get. But even you who has dedicated everything can't quite get over that hump.
Yep.
And so it's just I have the same, because I lived that for so long, that's why I have the same fear and hesitation that I do with federated social media, is because it's the same concept, you're just applying it to a different area, which means it's going to be the same problems, the same people, nothing's getting solved, it's just getting reapplied.
Yeah.
And the moment you start fragmenting out and then you start talking about, okay, well, different countries have different laws regarding these things, which ones do you adhere to? Well, okay, there's that then. All right. So who do we go to when and if there's a problem? Well, here's the list of every server. Good luck. It's I fear that it's not going to work as well as we hope it will
Yeah.
because of that.
I worry about that too.
That's going to be my biggest watch for that hurdle. And like I said, I'm not saying that X and Meta and everybody has it figured out right now. What I'm saying is that that's one person to deal with, one group to deal with, and you're having these problems. What happens when it becomes 100,000? You're just making the problem, and then you have the one person that's like, nope, I'm an absolutist. Then you have problems.
Yeah. I think we'll get there.
Maybe.
Maybe. We were there. We started there, Dave. That's the thing I remember is that's where we started.
Yeah. But it wasn't popular enough to let the cesspool become mainstream.
Yep.
We live in a 24/7 news cycle now, which means any little bit of cesspool will become mainstream. And everything will get painted by a brush, and then these problems will start to come forward.
Yeah.
There was a lot of problems with the decentralized system back in the day, with everyone having their own bulletin boards or their own thing. There was a lot of issues, especially with trying to get people together. And the idea of social media was bringing people together.
Oh yeah.
And that's why we switched from things like, I mean, IRC chat was awesome, but there's a reason why AIM became more popular. There's a reason why ICQ became more popular very quickly. It's because it was decentralized. Or not it was not decentralized. It was centralized.
Yeah.
It became centralized, and then that's why it became popular.
That's why
because it brought more people together.
things like Threads and things like the BBC. Uh, I don't remember. There was a couple of governments that announced they were going to run all of their stuff on
And
Activity
that's
Pub.
awesome. Like I get that. And
Yeah,
that is good, and I'm glad that they're doing that. But
yeah.
but if Joe next door, who shares all this stuff, doesn't, then it doesn't matter.
Well, the next step is the colleges, Dave. When the colleges do it, and then the kids sign up at the colleges when they get there, and then all of a sudden they have a college community, and then
Yeah,
they have their social, which is a federated social at their college community.
it might. We'll see how I mean, and that's how Facebook started, so it might
Yep,
work.
that's the next step that I see, Dave. I see it.
I'm still not convinced. I
I'm not.
don't.
I'm not saying I'm convinced. I'm just saying I can see it.
You're more hopeful than I am.
Think about it, Dave. You see it. What happens when a college? What happens when a college? When you go sign up at a college and you get a college email address, you still get
Yep.
those. What
Oh
happens
yeah.
when you go sign up and then all of a sudden your college email address is tied to a college social
Yep. And then the
and you
moment
can
you graduate,
post,
and then the moment you graduate, all of that gets deleted, and you have to start over from scratch again.
but it doesn't because you can move them now. Because of how Activity Pub works, you can move them.
But the address of how to get a hold of them changes. All
That's
the data
true.
stays the same. The way you reach your people has to start over from scratch. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think I read something about a forwarding thing, but then I didn't understand it at all.
And I think for forwarding, that's going to require colleges to forward everything. Colleges won't even forward email when you're leaving college. And that's been a thing since the beginning of email.
Mm-hmm.
When you leave, you're done. It's over. So if they won't even do that with basic email, what makes you think they're going to do it with social media, to which the old heads that run the college systems
Well,
kind of wave their hand at?
the old heads that run the college systems are starting to become us, Dave.
Yeah.
We're the old heads now.
Yeah.
That's why I'm starting to have hope, is because I'm looking around and I'm seeing the teachers at my kids' school and they're younger than me. The principal is younger than me, and the superintendent is younger than me. And I'm like, shit's
Yeah.
changing. The
I
world
just,
around me is changing.
I just went through parent teacher night with the kids, and I noticed that too. I was like, holy shit, I'm older than a lot of these teachers.
Yeah. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, and they're using the new tools, Dave. They're using the new tools and we're
Some of them, as long as it's in the budget.
as long as it's in the budget. Pay your taxes, people. Give them the new tools.
But even then, Schoology, Blackboard, all those things, that's not even unified across school districts.
Yeah.
And none of it transfers from district to district when you switch schools. And that's
Yeah.
with us being in charge.
Well, we're getting there. We keep fighting that fight, Dave.
I know.
You and I are fighting the good fight. I know there's not a lot of other people that aren't. I vote yes on every school thing that comes up because it's important.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't even read them. I'm just
We
like,
just
school
had another
taxes?
we just
Yes.
had another one that went up, and it passed. by a lot closer than I was hoping it would. But I think that was because the last time we had it before this last one. So this last one was adding more mental health and assistance for kids. It passed like 55-45 or whatever. And I think it passed because the last time that we had one that would raise up taxes slightly was with school buses, and it failed. And then every parent who was like, "You're not raising my taxes," realized that buses weren't going to be picking up their kids if they live within 2 miles of the school, really started flipping out because their bus service that they used to have no longer picked up their kids. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you voted against your own interest here, buddy.
Yeah.
You said, no, $6 a year was too much tax increase. I'm sorry, $6 a month.
Yeah.
You know, one of your Starbucks coffees a month down, and that was too much money. I don't know. I get frustrated with fucking people. That's why I don't trust it.
Yeah.
And I know it sometimes comes across that I'm absolutely anti-federated shit. And I'm not. I really want it to work. I
No,
just don't trust that people are smart enough to do it.
we're anti-people, Dave.
I just don't
problem.
trust that people are smart enough to maintain that.
Yeah. Well, we got you and me. That's a good start.
No, and there's plenty of us that are there. The problem is that I'm not willing to throw away the rest of my life to work on it. The amount of work that has to go into doing that, I don't have that in me. And yes, we're two, but the amount of social media, Jesus.
Yeah.
The number of people that are on social media.
Yep. That's why I'm just out doing my own thing.
So, you know, we'll see what happens. I will be ready for if it does go that direction, but until then, I'm not sweating it. I'm not worried about it. It is very low on my priority list because if it does happen, I'll probably be retired by then anyway.
Retire. We're millennials, Dave. That's not in our lexicon.
Oh, I'm fully planning on retiring. I might be 80 when I retire, but I'm fully planning on retiring.
Yeah. I
No, I
plan on
think
just walking out into the woods and curling up under a tree.
I've thought about it here recently because my dad's retiring at the end of the year. My stepmom's already retired. My dad's retiring at the end of the year. And I'm just like, this is going to be good.
What's he do? Where does he work? Where do I apply?
You don't want to, well, so he works for Eaton. And he's been running special projects for years now, which means he travels quite a bit. He makes some decent money, but he travels a lot.
Oh.
So if you want to go to Southern California or Dallas or Mexico for weeks at a time, you know.
I don't know. Can I take the kid?
No. Well, you could. You just have to pay for it.
Yeah, that'd be okay. Take the kid and a sitter if I pay for both of them.
You might be able to. I don't know. I just know that he works insane hours too. I mean, I wouldn't want his job.
Yeah. Dave, we don't want any jobs.
I'm okay with what I got going. I'd like to add to it.
You're a trophy husband. What are you talking about?
Trophy. Maybe a raspberry trophy, but
It's one of the ones that kind of melted because it was too close to the fire on the, what
You
do
know
they
about
call
the
those things? The mantle?
yeah. You know about the Raspberry Awards, right?
No. What's that?
So you know about the Oscars. Everyone
Yeah.
knows about the Oscars. That's where they give for the best. The Raspberries is what they do for the worst. Worst actor, worst movies, worst.
So
So,
raspberry, like,
yep, it's a
okay.
raspberry,
Okay.
which is a funny concept. I still think it's a hilarious concept. It's been around for a while too.
Yes. Okay.
What?
We're trophy husbands, Dave.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Gives me a whole new appreciation for what stay-at-home moms go through, though. Too.
Yeah.
It's not just you're just on permanent vacation. Nope.
No?
That's a terrifyingly amount of pressure and um, responsibility.
You ever watch the circus jugglers?
Occasionally.
Yeah, that's what it's like. It's exactly like that.
Just wait till you get teenagers, man.
Uh,
And you're lucky because you'll only have one.
yeah. That was a good choice, wasn't it? I don't know. I think having a couple of them spaced out might have been helpful. There'd be some help, but
Yeah, help. That's a pipe dream.
yeah, I don't know.
That's a 24/7 fight just to get them to do simple chores.
Yep.
Let alone anything worth anything. But, guess it's what you sign up for.
Yep.
It's what you get for nut inside someone, I guess. Decades of stress.
Decades of it. Literal decades. I can
Yeah.
look at my mom's face. I turned 41 in a few days. I can look at my mom's face and tell she's still stressed.
Oldest is going to be 19 in less than 6 months.
Yep.
And the youngest who just turned 9. So by the time that the youngest is getting ready to be out of the house, I'll be in my 50s. I'll have a teenager. I figured out that, for the last 6 years, I've had a teenager now, and I'll have a teenager until I'm in my 50s.
Yep.
Starts a decade and a half of having a teenager.
And he's shaving all your hair off so you don't see the white.
I grew it back, so now you can see the white. Not to mention it's starting to permeate through my goatee, so there's that.
Yeah, my beard's going full white. My top of my head isn't though, so that's kind of neat.
Yeah, it's funny because I've got the graying going on, and my dad does not. My dad doesn't color his hair, by the way.
Hey, he's a handsome fella, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, that he is. No gray and no hair
Oh,
loss.
wow.
His grandfather was also no gray, no hair loss. So
What the fuck, Dave? You got.
I got the short end of the straw with my mom's side,
Yep.
where I have a slowly retreating hairline. It's not terrible yet. My widow's peak keeps getting deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
And I got gray.
They got gray.
But I didn't go like almost completely bald like my cousins and everyone on my mom's side. So I kind of like got the middle ground somewhere. Like they were all freaking smooth top domes by the time they were in their 30s. Except for my uncle Matt, but that was because he was in a bicycle accident and had to get surgery and grafting and stuff, and it helped because it moved follicles up to the top of his head. So he's the only one with actual hair. Which is funny to me.
Yeah.
But then they went all Trumpoid, and I'm black sheep because, you know, they pray for me because I'm speaking out against the attempting of genocide and the fucking atrocities going on in Gaza and Israel right now. I don't want to get too. I'm not going to go on a complete rant on this, but I will say this.
We did that in the last one, Dave. Let's skip a few before we go make rants.
I will say this though. If there's a school shooter in a a shooter in a school, the solution is not blow up the school to kill the shooter and fuck the kids. That's not a solution. Just saying. That should not be the solution.
If you can't sit down and talk it out, then maybe you're the problem, Dave.
I'm just saying. Blowing up apartment buildings full of people because there's a terrorist inside is a really bad plan of action.
Yeah.
It's lazy, it's inefficient, and it's just evil.
Takes two to tango.
It might take two to tango, but there are also ways of dealing with not blowing up apartment buildings full of children or blowing up a city that you declare.
They wouldn't be fighting that hard if they weren't getting blown up.
You know,
they'd sit and talk if they were allowed to sit and talk.
A terrorist attack that takes out 2,000 or 2,500 or 3,000 people, and so you go and kill, and I think it's almost going to reach 100,000 here before long. Civilians. Yeah. There's a massive disconnect of proportion.
Yeah.
And before anyone says anything, I was insanely critical about the United States doing the exact same goddamn thing, which is why I'm no longer in the military.
Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't join, Dave.
Because it's wrong. It's wrong when we've done it. It's wrong when someone else does it. And calling it out doesn't make me anti whatever country I'm calling out.
It's because we never stop and talk first.
I'm a huge fan of diplomacy.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Stop the trauma.
But, you know.
All right.
On that note, stop blowing up the school to take care of a school shooter. Just stop.
For everybody else, keep on choogling.
Yeah. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
And until next time.
Yeah.